Unrelated deaths as Port Moresby welcomes New Year. Morobe capital welcomes 2019 peacefully. And Eastern Highlands focus to grow economy.
This is National EMTV News with Morobe Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for the first news bulletin of the new year 2019. Port Moresby police have reported 2 deaths after the new year was welcomed in the nation's capital. Both deaths are not related, but police say are a result of an attempted robbery at Gordon's and an attempted carjacking at Gerahu.
The 2019 New Year celebrations in Port Moresby was generally quiet in most suburbs, except for some areas where residents partied on the streets as they count down the remaining hours for 2018. And for the men and women in blue, it was their duty to ensure city residents celebrate the new year safely.
Just want to ensure our people enjoy New Year like they did in Christmas. From experiences, we are aware, we know there'll be problem. But if you follow your zone commanders and PS's directive, especially support unit, we're going to make it easier for ourselves. What you have done today for the show of force is a good indication that you can deter any incident that comes after that. I will not hold your time. I'm impressed with your NCOs and zone commanders, as well as the 3 PSs. You have done well over the Christmas. Let's get this New Year out successfully by tomorrow morning.
As we have discussed,
over 300 police officers were deployed out of the Hohola police station. The operation began with what can be described as a show of strength. A convoy of over 40 police vehicles conducted the first patrol around the city before splitting up into the 3 zones. The final hours of 2018 were generally quiet, but as the clock was nearing 12 a.m., city residents gathered outside the Lamana Hotel to witness the display of fireworks. Few hours into the new year, and police officers apprehended 4 men at Waigani as suspects for carjacking related offences. The 2 that reported are not related, but police say were results of attempted criminal offences in 2 different suburbs. After welcoming the new year, police officers spent at least 3 hours cleaning up the streets that were blocked off with burning tires, old car parts, and parts of old refrigerators. The New Year police operation remains one of the biggest operations every year. Similar operations were conducted in other provinces. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
And on the first day of the new year, residents and business houses in Port Moresby will experience continuous blackouts for the next few hours at least. The power outage follows what is described as a trip that occurred at the Rona power station outside Port Moresby. The power outage has affected traffic lights, and business houses are encouraged to use standby generators. PNG Power released a statement saying its technical team is working on resolving this issue. However, it did not give a time frame on when it would be resolved. Meanwhile, the news of the continuous power outage has angered many Port Moresby residents. New Year celebrations in Lae have been generally quiet this year. Police were present patrolling various sectors in the city. Lae's Metropolitan Commander, Anthony Wagambi Jr., said this was because of police and community partnerships. He commended the general public and police officers for ensuring that the new year was celebrated peacefully.
The New Year's round started with a visit to West Taraka. The streets were quiet and children gathered at the Bumbu River to celebrate the new year. We continued to the 3 Mile police station where they had apprehended 4 homebrew suspects, amongst them 2 juveniles.
He walked like what I look like, him before.
Police were stationed at the 2 Mile roundabout conducting routine checks on vehicles. Officer in charge of traffic, Kiweri Kisalbi, said there were no major traffic incidents during the New Year's Eve operations.
Although we have 3 or 4 fatal accidents within the city, not inside the city, but we got one inside the city, 2 outside of the city, but it was very, very quiet.
When the clock struck 12, the city's New Year fireworks display was set off to welcome the new year. This was organized by the Lay City Authority. Nearly all of the suburbs were generally quiet. At around 1 a.m., we came across this family strolling home to Salamanda after New Year's visits to family. They said, unlike in previous years, celebrations in the city have become more peaceful.
Now, but tonight it's really quiet and we've enjoyed ourselves and we're walking on the street and there's no drunken around the road.
No, it's good, yes, it's safe. It's quiet. Quiet and we're walking.
There was not much movement by people in the Unigate tent city and Bumayong area.
It's just quiet. Not plenty disturbance or anything that matter.
The tent city police went to apprehend a suspect at Yamandi in Bumayong. However, the suspect was not found. Police continued patrolling until this morning. Lay Metropolitan Commander Anthony Wagambi Jr. said the peaceful celebrations are the result of ongoing police operations and partnerships with the community.
I'd like to commend the people of Lay and for assisting police to make this period a safe New Year transition, New Year celebrations. Without the public support in the way of calling us on the toll-free number and giving us information, we wouldn't have experienced a peaceful festive season like this. So I commend the public and also commend my policemen and women for their tireless efforts.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lay.
Lay police apprehended a suspect in possession of a police-issued tear gas gun whilst conducting New Year's operations early this morning. Lay Metropolitan Commander Anthony Wagambi Jr. said there have not been any reports of stolen police weapons. They will be investigating this matter. The suspect is currently in custody.
This is the tear gas gun seized from the suspect at around 12 a.m. this morning. Police officers from the Metropolitan Command were on patrol when the suspect aimed this gun at them.
It's when our members who were deployed at the 3 miles area, they did a footbeat into the area and they came across this person. And upon searching him, he had on him a police-issued gas gun.
The suspect was apprehended and is in police custody.
So the serial number has been taken, and we are going to trace where that gun came from which unit. In Lay, we have not had any reports of any weapons gone missing, but that's to be confirmed.
Although the New Year was celebrated peacefully in most parts, there were individuals who were caught by police for homebrew and drugs. These 2 were caught by the tent city police and locked at the station for drugs and homebrew.
Basically, everywhere was quiet. All parts of the city was quiet. Then along the highway, up miles going towards Nazab was also quiet.
Just after midnight, there was an attempted break-in at the company premises at West Taraka. Security personnel and police caught the 3 suspects and brought them to the town police station.
But our people attended to it quickly, and with the assistance of the security guards, apprehended 3 suspects. Those suspects are now in custody and they'll have to be identified by witnesses. So they're with the CID now, so the follow-up will be done.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lay.
You're watching National EMTV News. Among stories after these messages, call to support referendum for West Papua and Eastern Highlands focus for 2019. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. The Eastern Highlands Provincial Government is looking to increase its economic influence as the gateway into the Highlands, more emphasis on agriculture and local accommodation initiatives. Among priorities this year are additional road links into Simbu and registration of farmer SMEs.
As early as 6 a.m, vegetable sellers gather in the center of Goroka's Peace Park. This is a temporary town market as the main market is being rebuilt. And while this temporary arrangement is uncomfortable for some and an eyesore, the provincial government is confident of getting things back in order by the end of the year.
We have to find market outside, but the main market, the storage room or something, we have to look at buying fresh produce from Upper Highlands.
As the closest Highlands province to the coast, Eastern Highlands is strategically placed to take advantage of the large markets in Lae, Medang and Port Moresby. Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu says there's a lot of work to do in 2019, and that work includes constructing new roads linking the nearest Simbu districts to Eastern Highlands, encouraging farmer SMEs to register as businesses and to increase internal revenue.
The market opportunity that we offer here, no need for them to take it all the way to Lae.
With a new airport terminal, a new market and increased interest in the province, 2019 could turn out to be a big year in the Eastern Highlands. Already farmers are leading the way by buying and exporting vegetables to other parts of the country. The key in generating internal revenue is to support this and make it bigger. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lae.
In the nation's capital, the Purepurana Larabada Clinic, set up by PNG Family Health Association, caters for the over 15,000 residents of Hanobada village in Port Moresby. Apart from the health services they provide, they also run a busy antenatal clinic as well. Unfortunately, they are not able to make deliveries in the clinic, and in the heart of Port Moresby, mothers deliver at home.
The Purepurana Clinic is the nearest health facility that people from Hanobada, as well as the nearby areas, have access to. Among the challenges they face and needs they have almost every day, there is a need for a maternity ward in the clinic. Senior HIV counselor at the clinic, Sister Momoro now said they are not able to deliver babies in the clinic because they do not have a maternity ward. Instead, they do home deliveries.
In our records, probably 15 to 20 women who home delivered.
When asked if there were any plans to extend or improve the clinic, Sister Momoro said Port Moresby Northwest MP Sam Mekera Morauta has plans to improve the clinic.
I think Sam Mekera Morauta has a plan for it. There will be a clinic coming up, but we don't know when and how soon. And I think there's a promise in the plan that there will be a maternity ward as well, a mini maternity ward.
With the current situation of the clinic and an ongoing medicine shortage, Sister Momoro said they are hoping that this plan to improve the clinic needs to be actioned sooner. The clinic has already called to the authorities for assistance, and they are waiting to see what this new year has for them. Patricia Kiamo, National MTV News.
The people of Chimbu Province are protesting against the Electoral Commission's decision to have the recount of the Chimbu provincial seat in Lae instead of in Chimbu or nearby provinces. This comes after the Waigani court ordered a recount of the seat after ruling in favor of an election petition filed by former Governor Noah Cool against the winner of the 2017 national general elections, Michael Dua. The people claim that the decision to move the venue was solely the Electoral Commission's and did not involve the courts. They claim officials from the Commission and some security personnel attempted to move the ballot papers from the Kundiawa police station to Lae last Monday without prior advice to the provincial government. The people say the attempt by the Commission has raised suspicion. Therefore, they are currently protesting by camping outside the Kundiawa police station, demanding that the venue be changed. Provincial Police Commander Jacob Singura said the people have already presented a petition to the Commission regarding the venue, however, are yet to receive a response.
Governor Michael Dua and choice blood Chimbu people. You're right. I don't know.
400,000 plus population of Chimbuya and choice plan.
You're right.
Now I'm going to call there. Some say I'm going to learn that. I'm not choice plan Chimbu. I'm choice plan court.
You're right.
I'm minimum I'm choice plan court. So choice plan people I'm stop. I'm going to court. People like counting must come up no Chimbu.
The Papua New Guinea Accident Investigation Commission will be assisting Pacific Island nations to investigate crash incidents this year, 2019. Civil Aviation Minister Alfred Manasseh says PNG AIC is receiving formal invitations from government agencies and discussions are progressing. Minister Manasseh said AIC is also building its capacity and purchasing high-technology equipment to fast-track investigations within the Pacific region.
Speaking in Port Moresby recently, the Civil Aviation Minister announced the help PNG AIC will offer to Pacific Island nations beginning 2019. Manasseh says officials from PNG have initiated dialogue with neighboring government agencies with more showing interest.
Because we are being called upon by our Pacific friends and neighbors to help them out whenever they are in this kind of situations.
While there is much hype for PNG to be a leader in aviation investigation, AIC is also revamping its capacity with more investigators and more state-of-the-art equipment to assist in investigations. Manasseh said with the current economic status, AIC is budgeting to order the necessary equipment and stay par with changing technology.
In order to help them, we've got to build up our own capacity, and that's what AIC is targeting at the moment. Training new investigators, recruiting new investigators so that they then reach the level that is sufficiently skilled to be able to help others in the region.
The PNG government will be signing formal agreements with Pacific nations for AIC to expand its services in the region. Minister Manasseh says 2019 will be interesting for AIC.
AIC is now well placed as a leader in aircraft accident and serious incident investigations in the South Pacific region, and I think international recognition of AIC's capability evidence.
Jacob Palver Jr., National EMTV News.
West Papua Advocate and National Capital District Governor Tuas Pakop is renewing his call on the PNG government to review its position on West Papua. Pakop threw his support for a legally supervised referendum for the local Papuans to decide whether they still want to be integrated with the Republic of Indonesia or become an independent state. The NCD governor said a properly supervised and legally conducted referendum in accordance with international law will solve this crisis. He is urging the PNG and Indonesian governments to take a bold stance and help the closest Papuan brothers. He made this call after an escalation of conflicts and clashes in which 16 laborers of West Papua were killed. You're with National EMTV News on the 1st of January. When we come back, we take a look at New Year's celebrations across the world. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, as the world has started to welcome 2019, Australia started the new year with more of its celebrations.
We're one of the first to welcome the new year, but in Sydney, they turned back time. A projection onto the city's famous bridge displaying the wrong year for more than 1 million people in the harbour. An embarrassing gaffe that even 8.5 tonnes of fireworks over 12 minutes couldn't fix. It was an explosion of colour in Thailand too. Bangkok living up to its name, spectators taking to the water to get the best view. Hong Kong stepped things up this year, showcasing what it called a spectacular pyro musical. A stark contrast to South Korea, officials there banning the use of fireworks for safety reasons. No bangs, but 33 gongs from a traditional bell ceremony. Revellers wishing for harmony with their northern neighbours.
The relationship between North and South Korea has improved. I hope we can keep this good atmosphere in 2019 so that we can be more peaceful.
Though there was very little peace and quiet in North Korea. Tens of thousands gathering to witness rare musical performances and a 10-minute fireworks display with a rousing commentary. The UAE bringing the magic, the tallest building in the world resembling a wand as colours shot from the Burj Khalifa, illuminated by a lighting extravaganza. The City of Love went for a softer approach. Projections onto the Arc de Triomphe celebrated brotherhood and French culture, as well as its 2018 World Cup win, before lighting up the Champs-Élysées at midnight. But how can you beat this? The largest annual fireworks display in Europe, 70,000 projectiles over 10 minutes, estimated to cost more than $5.5 million. Big Ben's bongs marking the new year. A world so often divided, united with celebration and new hope for 2019.
New Zealand police were largely happy with the behaviour at New Year's celebrations across the South Island. That despite record crowds at Queenstown as international tourists mixed with Kiwi visitors along the waterfront.
It's become something of a New Year's tradition for international visitors in Queenstown. This trio from the Netherlands taking advantage of the warm night to test the waters.
It's a little bit warm, but still cold. Yeah.
A record crowd of 20,000 watched as fireworks lit up the night sky above Lake Wakatipu. Visitors from around the world keen to join the party in the resort town.
Everyone said, "Oh, come to Queenstown, it's beautiful."
To be the first to celebrate Happy New Year.
I've been told it's amazing.
Some New Year's wishes were simple.
We want to be happy and pretty.
Happy. I just want to be happy and successful.
I want a girlfriend.
Others maybe a surprise.
2019, more travels.
Yeah.
And a baby.
What?
Police were happy with behaviour across Otago hotspots, with just 5 arrests in Queenstown and 2 in Wanaka. But it took a team of officers to restrain one intoxicated reveller who didn't want to leave early. Police marching him down Queenstown Mall to a waiting car. At the Rhythm and Alps Festival near Wanaka, 10,000 young people partied the night away without incident. In Christchurch, Hagley Park was the hub for the city's New Year's countdown. While in Dunedin, a large crowd filled the Octagon to enjoy live bands and entertainment. A trouble-free start down south to 2019.
Security checks in one of the country's busiest New Year celebrations uncovered a mystery drug containing pesticide and other potentially dangerous substances.
British DJ Wilkinson was responsible for getting 20,000 music fans fired up for the final moments of 2018. But while these revellers were amped for the new year, some partygoers 2019 didn't have the extra spark they had hoped for. A small quantity of drugs was seized after being spotted at a routine search at the venue. News Hub understands the pills look like MDMA or ecstasy and are purple.
So we have the ability to actually look at the contents of the drugs that we seize. You don't know what you're taking, so be aware of this sort of stuff and be safe.
Analysis of the substance found they contained dangerous compounds like pesticides, paints and antibiotics.
We're really against people overindulging and taking drugs, but unfortunately people do that, and we just provide a safe place for them to come and be looked after.
While the bad batch of pills didn't make it into the festival, there was still plenty of other contraband trying to get through the gates.
It's just joints, ecstasy, molly, NOS tanks.
Drugs and alcohol-related emergencies kept St John Ambulance paramedics busy. Leading up to midnight, they saw up to 50 partygoers an hour.
We are seeing some people that have overindulged, and we're just looking after them and trying to get them patched up back out there, but some of them have had their night spoilt by overindulging.
But for the vast majority, last night topped off 3 days of summer celebrations.
I've been to the last 2 years, and personally this has been my best year for me.
We're locals, we come all the time.
It's nice to see everyone so mellow. Yeah.
Easing their way into the new year, hoping the glow won't wear off.
Scientists monitoring New Zealand's most active volcano have discovered its lake might overflow in a few months. Lake crater on White Island has been steadily rising for the past years, and it could pose a risk to those visiting the island.
Lining up for an adventure.
We're also getting 3 boats out per day at the moment, which is really good for this time of year.
Just 50 kilometres off the coast of Whakatane, White Island grows in size with each passing minute. And as the country's most active volcano stretches across the horizon, something else is getting bigger too.
A lake started to form on the floor of it, and the lake has risen about 12 metres.
The previous lake was destroyed following an eruption in 2016, blasting a 13-metre hole in the crater floor. It's risen 3 times in the last 15 years, coming close to but never reaching overflow.
Basically the volcano has cooled down, and the volcanic gas coming into the volcano has come into contact with some water, and it's getting condensed.
The crater lake is about 10 metres below from where I'm standing. If it were to overflow, this is where it would happen. The lake's expected to spill over in around 6 months' time. Geysers will start to appear as hydrothermal vents are drowned by the rising water. But scientists say the only risk is to those on the island.
All of the hazards associated with White Island are restricted to people on the island. We have absolutely no evidence that it's affected the mainland from any of its eruptions.
We keep a pretty close eye on how the volcano is working, and we've got a plan of action if it does erupt, and if there are people out there, how we're going to rescue them.
Scientists, tour operators and police all ready for any dramatic event on this remarkable island.
In Russia, at least 4 people have been killed and around 43 others remain missing after a gas explosion at an apartment block. It happened in the early hours of the morning in the city of Magnitogorsk, while many residents of the building were asleep. It's thought the explosion ripped through the first floor, which then collapsed the 7 stories above.
All day, rescue teams have been swarming over the ruins, searching for signs of life after a massive explosion. This pile of brick, metal and concrete is all that's left of almost 50 apartments. The blast ripped through the block in the early hours of morning. It's a public holiday here, and most residents would have been sleeping. It's feared that dozens are now buried. Officials say the explosion was caused by a gas leak. It sliced a whole section from the 10-storey tower block. Those who made it out alive are still reeling.
Everything collapsed. I looked through the window. Smoke was rising. The rescuers told us to leave.
I was asleep. I woke up from the feeling I was falling down. The wall was missing. I woke up in the street, my mother screaming, my son crying in the corner.
As the scale of the disaster became clear, Russia's president flew to the scene. In a freezing tent that's now an emergency headquarters, officials shared the grim details.
This is in the character of our people. Despite the holidays, today it is not superfluous, but necessary to recall the dead and the injured.
A school is now a shelter for those evacuated from sections of the tower block still standing. Locals have been sending supplies, though this is no way to see in the new year. Scenes like this, though, are all too common here. There were over 40 fatal gas explosions in Russian homes last year alone. Finding any more survivors from this one is now a race against time and the elements, with temperatures at -18 and falling.
You're watching National EMTV News. We go for a break. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The famous tag for off-season tournaments is mostly associated with lesser standards. That is about to change, with Port Moresby's governor, Paul Sparkop, vowing to restore some reflection of Port Moresby's off-season rugby league tournaments to reflect that of a modern city.
For the past 10 years, the National Capital District Governors' Cup, Port Moresby's major prize rugby league off-season tournament, has been associated with much negativity, unruly behaviour by supporters, crowd control issues, management of funding and unfavourable playing surfaces plagued the competition. It's 2019 and NCD Governor Powes Pakop, a staunch advocate of turning Port Moresby into a modern city, views the tournament as not complementing the city's growth. He's got a point. The cup bears his name and he wants the tournament to reflect the growth of Port Moresby as a modern city. Port Moresby boasts infrastructure, good roads and very well established sporting and recreational venues. The southern leg of the Ipatas Cup moved from a suburban field, Connie Tigers, to a sporting complex, and the standard was amazing. Pakop's second secretary Simon Nicodemus was present on behalf of the governor at the 2018 Governors' Cup final, addressing Pakop's concern towards the tournament.
In the subsequent years to come, he wants to make it more professional. He wants more professional setup because of the time that we live in and the changes that are occurring. And he also wants to see that the management really transform to the transformation of the city to reflect the city.
The venue, Connie Tigers, has been the home of suburban off-season league, where hard earth and skin met, where bruises were seen as part of off-season rugby league. When the surface is dry, it is hard. When it is wet, it is a sty. Remarkable players keep on turning up, but persistence has paid off. With NCDC taking over the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium, this year's tournament seeks to take advantage of greener pastures in its literal sense.
Including the NCD Governors' Cup, to be played in Sir Hubert Murray Stadium. That is as we speak, is under construction, which we anticipate to be completed by the year end.
With the venue issue sorted out, the next thing is the crowd control. But that's a long story. 1st of January, 11 more months till the next tournament. Hopefully it's all resolved to reflect the nation's beautiful capital city. Fidelis Sukina, National MTV Sports.
We go for a quick break and be back with more of Trukai Sports after these messages. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To cricket overseas, the New Zealand Black Caps have switched to one-day mode, hoping their 2018 success will flow on in the new year. The 13-man squad has been boosted by the return of Martin Guptill, a veteran of 159 ODI matches.
Back in the frame, a troublesome calf injury was history for Martin Guptill. The opening batsman has form here too at the Bay Oval, making a century against the Sri Lankans almost 3 years ago to the day.
What was it? It's about 2 seasons ago now, isn't it?
Three. That's exactly
is it really?
3 years ago.
Okay, well, there we go.
And
shows some memories going.
You scored?
I got 102, didn't I? Yeah. Because I got out next ball after I got 100.
Since his last appearance, the Black Caps have a new coach. Does that mean any tweaks to his belligerent approach?
Pretty much business as usual, to be honest. It's I don't see my role changing.
He'll be reunited at the top of the order with the equally aggressive Colin Munro, who was more missed than hit in his 13 ODIs last year, only averaging 19.
Having Guppy there, he's played a lot of cricket for New Zealand and opened the batting his whole career, so having him on the other end is a massive help for me.
The good news for the pair is this venue has a reputation of being a batsman's paradise.
Yeah, we're definitely aiming for the type of pitches we had last year. They had good pace and carry, nice true wickets, so yeah, hopefully a big run fest.
And that could mean a tough day for one of the locals, Trent Bolt, coming off his test heroics last month. At least life was a beach for him today.
We're used to that, so that's all right. Obviously live here, so I know the groundsman pretty well, so he'll produce a good wicket.
Another Mount resident, the skipper Kane Williamson's already been at the beach today, surfing. He then rocked up for an optional net, the only one of the 5 test players to do so.
To the NBA, a New Year's Eve in the US means another marathon day of NBA games with 7 teams competing. Let's take a look at the games.
Instead, the ball comes back out to the perimeter, and Paul George splashes home the three.
The Thunder turning it up in front of their home fans at Chesapeake Stadium, Oklahoma. Yesterday's ugly 2-point loss to the Mavericks, spurring a high-energy first half.
Another one for Paul George. Westbrook, the lob, Jeremy Grant.
Steven Adams in on the action, while superstar teammate Russell Westbrook stepped out of the shadows after a quiet month.
Westbrook again, the high bank line.
The two then combining to extend the lead.
And look at this, Steven Adams is right there in his living room.
The Mavericks with a mini revival in the third before Westbrook showed up again. Him and his shoes.
Westbrook goes right to the rim and scoops it up.
And this must be the shoes. All I can see is what, pink? I don't see anything else.
That's why
Westbrook finishing the night off with another triple-double, 32 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists.
When we play our game, it's tough for teams to beat us, and tonight we did that. So
The good feels continued with Westbrook giving up his lucky shoes. Adams with his own double-double, 12 points, 13 rebounds.
sizes up Dwight Powell, no good, but Adams, right place, right time.
Thunder waving goodbye to 2018 with a 122-102 win, their 23rd of the season.
The tennis and all eyes will be on centre court this evening for a clash of two heavyweights, former world number one Venus Williams and Victoria Azarenka. One News has spoken to a player who's been coming to Auckland for over a decade but still hasn't tasted glory at the Classic.
For the best part of the last 15 years, this is what the new year looks like for Daria Jurak. Training in Auckland, gearing up for the ASB Classic.
To live for the tennis. I don't celebrate New Year. I was in the bed at 10:30 because I know I have to be fit for the morning practice, morning session, which I had, and I have to give my best. You cannot afford a glass of wine or two.
She was just 19 when she first played here, getting knocked out in qualifiers.
I do remember, it was a shock for me. It was so sunny. I came from Croatia, winter time. First day I was practicing for 2 hours and I got sunburn immediately.
Now 34, she's only ever played on centre court a handful of times. And while Jurak's got 5 WTA doubles titles to her name, her best result here was making last year's semi-finals.
It's a long time to be slogging away. Do you love it or is it a grind?
Both. It's a grind, it's a jet lag.
Jurak's career prize money totals around $1.5 million. Compare that to top seed Caroline Wozniacki, who's earned closer to $50 million. But there's something about Auckland that inspires players at both ends of the scale to keep returning.
I like the people, I like the food. The tournament is so well organized. They really try so hard that we feel like at home. And I like it's a small family.
For the Croatian, 15 years on from her Classic debut, there's unfinished business on the doubles court.
I will keep on coming till I don't win the tournament. I'm a very stubborn person.
If you win it this time round, will you still come back next year?
Yes, I want to defend the title.
A title that would be just reward for over a decade of perseverance.
And that ends Trukai Sports for this evening. We go for another break. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, Port Moresby, some showers expected with a top temperature of 32 degrees. Thundery rain expected in Daru and Kerema. Rain and thunderstorms and a top of 32 for Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momasa region, showers expected all across the region. In Lae, it'll be 33 degrees, 28 degrees in Wa, 31 degrees in Madang, and 30 degrees in Wewak and Vanimore. To the New Guinea Islands region, showers expected in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe. Thundery showers in Buka with a top of 32 degrees. And to the Highlands region, rain showers and morning fog developing in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. Rain and morning fog developing as well in Mount Hagen. To a look at the forecast for small ships, there is a renewal of a strong wind warning for all coastal waters. Strong northwesterly wind surge of 25 to 34 knots are expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas and high wind waves, with gale force winds of 34 to 48 knots expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing very rough winds with high wind waves. A look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, Yule Island, and waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of Finchafen through Vitias and Dampier Strait to Osiasi Island to Long Island, seas 3 to 3.5 meters, and waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel, Finchafen, and waters of Finchafen with waters of Long Island to Medang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo, and the northern PNG Indonesian border, and waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and waters of New Ireland to east and west New Britain and Bougainville, seas 2.5 to 3 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, seas very rough with northwest to southwesterly winds at 34 to 48 knots. Solomon Sea, seas rough to very rough with northwesterly winds at 30 to 48 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas rough to very rough with northwesterly winds at 30 to 48 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, seas moderate to rough with northwesterly winds at 20 to 34 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's how we begin the new year 2019. On behalf of the EMTV News team right around the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.